At some point in the digital age of boss babes, new money, and ambitious rookies, we stopped consulting our village's wisest. Women have been the heartbeat of the world within their respective communities, workforces, and families since the dawn of time. They are the magic makers, the peacemakers, and the ass kickers. Let's celebrate them with the matriarchy party. Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the matriarchy party. Today, I have such a delicious treat for you because we're talking about beer. We're talking about the founder of my favorite brewery / my favorite women-owned brewery. I don't know another one, especially in Phoenix. It's Megan Greenwood here at the party. Megan is the founder and owner of Greenwood Brewing Company, located in downtown Phoenix, Arizona. If you're a local, it's right on Roosevelt Row. Megan is an engineer and worked in manufacturing engineering for over a decade before launching Greenwood after receiving a home brew kit for her birthday in 2014. Megan started brewing regularly and built a microbrewery in her garage where she had 8 beers on tap. Are you kidding? Come on. She began renting space from a local brewery, launching her flagship beers while she began construction of Greenwood Brewery. And isn't it gorgeous? She opened her self-funded downtown Phoenix microbrewery and beer garden in July 2020, opening a brick and mortar during a panini. Are you kidding? And her beer's now in over 200 plus restaurants, grocery, and retail stores throughout Arizona. Greenwood is so perfectly designed. I'm telling you, it has the women's touch. There's Instagram moments everywhere. Every nook and cranny. It's so beautiful. It smells so good. The merch is so good. The beers are incredible. First, let's go back there. Have to shout out her story, Pale Ale, because it's Women's History Month and all, you know. That's my go-to, and I love the name. Welcome, Megan, to the party.
Thank you so much, Courtney. Thank you.
I was like, it's not awkward at all, just me reading your bio at you first thing in the morning.
Good memory.
I love what you're doing. I mean, I see, especially because my little sister who has a donut shop has a similar opened in the pandemic, self-funded business, and it's just never sleeps. It is so much. So I respect you so much. We love to hang out on your patio and drink all your beverages and really benefit from your hard work. But it's going to be so great to talk to you today. Thank you for your time.
Yes. Thanks for having me.
So who are we talking about? Who is your matriarch?
My matriarch is my mom.
Classic.
100%. You know, it's funny. You think about, I saw this really great video the other day, and I have a little one now, and it was about who you would have dinner with if you could have dinner with anybody.
Yeah.
And all these adults are talking about how they want to have dinner with this celebrity or this activist or this person from the past that's dead or whatever. And then they asked their kids the same question, and all of their kids said their parents.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh my gosh, it's going to bring me to tears even talking about it. But it was like every single one of their children said they wanted to have dinner with their parents.
Yeah.
Which I thought it was so cool. And so yeah, 100% my mom.
You're like, all we all want to do, I feel like you go through that teenage phase of like, you don't want anything to do with your parents because you know everything about everything and you're 16 and you know nothing about anything. And now it's like, oh, all I want to do is spend time with my mom, my parents, my grandparents. Like, that's how it comes full circle. But that video was so cute.
It was so cute. And it's so true. And
yeah,
I find that in every time of life that's really important, I'm always going back to my mom. So she's the one.
The pillar in your life.
Yeah.
Does she live here in Phoenix?
She doesn't. No, she lives in Iowa.
Oh, is that where you're from?
Yeah, I'm from Iowa.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. But it's funny, like she doesn't even say to me that she wants me to come back. She like wants what's best, which I think is like the ultimate.
Very selfless.
Yeah. Mom. So.
Oh man. Well, and I imagine you're talking to her every day then if you're very close. Like,
yeah, we're talking.
Like,
yeah, right.
Technology makes it.
Yeah, technology makes it great. I mean, my son even knows her pretty well. So, and
that's good.
He sees her a few times.
How old is he?
He's a year and a half.
Oh my gosh, just a fresh little baby.
Fresh little baby.
That's just another full-time job, girlfriend. Yeah. Wow, that's a lot. Well, that's so amazing then. Yeah, I have a niece who lives in Kansas and she's 3 and FaceTime has been everything just because they grow so much.
Yeah.
By the month, by the day.
Yeah.
Well, I always start this off with talking about you. And when we think of a matriarch, we think of a woman who's the head of their family, tribe, or organization. When in your life, if not becoming a mom, did you feel like you had to demonstrate those traits yourself, whether by necessity or not?
Yeah, I think it's interesting with having a son or having a family. I think there's so many parallels to having a business. So like you're trying to grow this thing that you've created. And so I think there are times where you really have to protect it. And so I could say that there's a couple of situations that I think of right off the top of my head. And one of them is when I was starting Greenwood, it was we were in the middle of the pandemic. Yes, it was in 2020. And I really had to protect my vision, even from myself. And that was very matriarchy, I feel, because it was an easy chance to give up.
Sure.
And to close the door. And so many people were judging and
scared
and had their opinion. And so I feel like that was a time where I was really needing to protect my business.
And your vision.
And my vision and my 2.5 years of investment.
Right.
Personally and financially. And so I would say that from a business perspective, that was one situation where it was just like, I need to close everybody else out, tune everything else out. And I was like that for a few years. I just posted about this a few weeks ago, actually, because I just started listening to podcasts again and listening to audiobooks again, because there's a time where you just have to close it all off so that you can protect what you need to protect.
What's in your heart and mind. And
yeah.
You're not like biting off other people's things or like letting that sway your North Star.
Yeah. So I would say, so I'm so excited because I'm back in the podcast game.
Yeah.
I'm back listening to audiobooks. So recommendations, welcome.
Yes.
Obviously. But then I would say from a personal perspective, it's, the same thing. When you're growing a family, as a mom, you think about situations that even your husband doesn't think about. And I find myself having to protect my son and future children or whatever, and in ways that is like so mama bear.
Yeah.
And I would say like the protection part of that question is really what comes to like the top of my mind, where I don't know that I even recognized it in myself until I was a mom.
Yeah.
But now I can see it in a lot of aspects of my life of like where that mama bear comes out. Yeah.
I can imagine like the instinct to just, mama bear up and like protect, whether it's your work family, your business family, your physical family, and just like, this is my life.
Yeah.
And anything else. I mean, and I'm sure you get so much unsolicited advice, especially at the beginning, from people who think that they know better than you. And I'm sure, I am not in the brewing world, so I don't know if there's a ton of women-owned brewery. Are there?
No, very rare. Less than 3%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially in Arizona. Is there another one?
Solely women-owned? I'm not sure. I think, yes, one maybe.
But like one.
Yeah, like one or two others, yeah.
And I don't know, just the business space in general, even in 2024, is so male dominated in a lot of ways, I feel like. So there's just a lot of opinions, I guess is what I'm going to say. And especially when you're like, I know what I'm going to do. And it's like, I always say on this podcast, I was like, we're not anti-men. We're just like, want women having an equal seat at the opportunities and the tables. But that is so hard to protect just what is yours when there's other opinions. I mean, I know just from friends and family members becoming moms or parents, everybody has an opinion of how to do it. And so it is, I imagine, similar in that way that you're like, I know what I want to do and how I want to do it, or I know how I want to raise my child. Thank you for your opinion, but respectfully, I'm doing it my way.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, so one of the biggest challenges that we did when we opened when I opened Greenwood. I got married the same year. So 2020, and I bought a house.
Wow.
So 2020 was a thriving year for Megan Greenwood, of just life changes.
Yeah.
And we bought this house that was like a complete renovation. And we lived through it. And it was a crazy situation. Never would do it again. People who live through that kind of stuff only do it once. And we're in this situation now where we're kind of doing some work to our house again, and we have to, and I was like, no, we're not. I'm not putting myself through it. I'm not putting my son through it. Mm-hmm. And it's like, my husband's so nimble and could live anywhere. He could live outside, he's like, and he doesn't think like, we have to have a home with 4 walls. Like we have to have heat in the cold winter. Like he just doesn't think. So it's like those kind of situations where you're like, you're thinking about you and your little or whatever, and in ways that I think women do uniquely.
Yes, totally. Because I feel that way even without having human children, just for babies. Like you're just thinking so far in advance to anticipate anything that could arise.
Yes.
And I'm like, why is that instilled? I would love to pass that off to my husband. The 3 a.m., like, let me think about every decision I've ever done wrong or anything that could go wrong. And I'm like, I always try and reframe it as like, what's the best that could happen instead of what's the worst that could happen? But it's like just being so proactive and planning in a way that can come off as like, oh, just loosen up. And you're like, but somebody needs to think about this because it's going to impact not just me, but wow, I resonate with that.
Yes. It's a gift and a curse.
Yeah.
It's both.
Amazing to have that superpower to be able to anticipate and create a problem solve like that. But it's also a curse when you're like, I'm trying to sleep. Can you just turn that off? Yeah. I want to be like Delulu and just float through life. Well, I'm sure. Wow, it sounds like you've had a lot going on, especially in the last few years, so many milestones and accomplishments. How do you feel like success and the meaning of that has evolved for you personally? Like I'm sure just early in your career, early 20s, you're thinking it looks like this, and now you've accomplished so much in such a short time and have a lot of press and awards and like exciting things coming in your business, and then your family's growing. Like what is the idea of success and the meaning?
Yeah, that's a great question. So definitely shifts. I would say when I was first starting Greenwood, I feel like I really wanted visibility personally and of course with my business, like I wanted to kind of be the face of the brand, and as it's my last name, so it is always going to somewhat be me as the face of the brand, which I do like, but I think I cared about that a lot more. And then once you kind of start in, you're like, I kind of realized that I wanted to really pull that back. So my view of success has really shifted. I would say now I want my view of success is continuous learning. And because for the last 3 years, I feel like I've been doing the same thing. And when I opened Greenwood, it was 2.5 year process. I self-funded it, so I had to secure a loan, and all of those years were a lot of learning, but it was a lot of doing. And when we opened Greenwood, finally, I was like, oh, I'm finally done. I'm done. But then I kind of forgot I had to run it, and then I had to like grow a team and foster a team and motivate a team and build a brand and create things that our customers want from us. And so the first couple of years were a lot of learning, but it was things that I didn't always want to be doing. Mm-hmm. And now we're finally at a place where I have almost a full team. I have a few things that we need to hire for, but almost a full team that are doing all the wonderful things that they are awesome at that I'm not as awesome at. So it's so great to have somebody better than me in those roles.
Yeah.
And now I can really start to look at what's next and where can I grow? Where can we grow Greenwood? Where can I learn? And positioning myself in even the boards that I'm on and my extracurricular activities to where I'm learning. And that to me is success, is when I'm learning something, growing something, and while
ever evolving, it sounds like.
Yeah, while like accomplishing a goal, and because like success is, it could be defined in so many ways. I would say financial success is really what I'm focusing on right now too. That's just the growth phase that we're in.
But at the beginning, I'm sure it's even hard. It is hard to not just look. You're doing so many things as the owner and founder that you're like, I would love to delegate this. I mean, it's great to learn everything. And then that's usually by necessity as you're doing so many arms of your business yourself. Mm-hmm. So the ability to be able to delegate and then put trust in people that you're like, more than I am, take the reins and do this well. So I can really focus on using our creative juices in a more strategic way for building wealth and growth and all those things. Yes. So I feel like you're just sitting in we're just turning the lights on right now and done is fun and we're just doing it. And then once you kind of get past that and you're like, okay, I need to empower these people that I've hired to do their job well so I can do mine well.
Yes.
But it's a whole other.
Yes. And that's success right there.
Yeah.
That's huge success. I'm not the one having to do the work in the business right now. And that's a huge success.
How do you feel about that? Do you feel I miss the days when I was the one brewing it? Or you're it's so exciting to be able to pivot into a different?
Some days I miss it. I would say what I really love what I'm doing now though, in finding the next things and making sure that the things that we are doing are done really well.
Yeah.
Because I think when I'm in it, we're missing a lot of opportunities.
Yeah.
And when I'm in it, we're missing a lot of what my strength is, which is being the visionary and taking new ideas and implementing them.
And nobody would be able to fill that role because it is you and it's your name and you know what you have. Yeah. You can't trust anybody else to be driving that ship.
Right. I mean, it's somebody's role and somebody's strength. And I could potentially hire it, but that's the fun part for me.
Yeah.
So this is exactly what I want to be doing. And it's funny when you think though, back to where I thought I would see success would be huge wealth success, big visibility success. And now that's yes, I want financial wealth. No, everybody does, but, it's no, that's actually not what I see as successful. The part that I do see as successful now is the fact that we have a kick-ass team who runs the business every day, and I can continue to grow the business. And
everybody wins.
Yeah, everybody wins. And it's really interesting because when we first opened and those couple years when I was really in the business, I was really struggling. And that's just because that's just not my strength. And I've been really communicating that with my staff lately, that it's one of my head brewer. She's amazing. And Kristen, she is taking over all of these responsibilities and she is crushing it and doing so much better than I could ever do. And so it's just it's so cool to see that and then be able to be let's partner. I'll get us to the next level and you actually get us there, It's cool.
You can kind of say what you envision and then take it away.
Yeah.
Beautiful thing.
Yeah. Something that you don't really think about.
Yeah. Well, and just clearing the mental load.
Yeah.
We were talking about that before we started as choosing outfits as much as you sharp pivot there, but anything that you can do to alleviate the decision fatigue. And as a business owner, you're making decisions all day, every day, that by the time it's time to plan your outfit, you're the last thing I want to do. I'm going to go with sweatpants. I have a closet full of cute clothes and I'm going to go with what's comfortable. this matches. This is great. So it's like, oh, I get why Steve Jobs wore his outfit every day. Like Zuckerberg wears the same outfit every day. And it's like one thing that you don't have to make a decision about.
Yes.
But we're just still holding out for that Cher Horowitz clueless closet.
Yes.
Business owners everywhere would love that.
Yep.
Technology. Come on, women in STEM. Don't be cowards. Do it. I love it. Well, describe a time where I'm sure the comes up a lot, but asking for what you want paid off.
Yeah. Okay. So when we were opening Greenwood, so the way that this all happened is I started Greenwood in 2014 in my garage, in my kitchen, then graduated to my garage. And the reason why I started Greenwood was because I wanted, I really saw that the beer industry was not targeting a female consumer. And I wanted to really shift that. And I wanted to create a product and a brand where women are feeling seen in the industry and feel like, hey, this person, this brand, this company is thinking about me as a consumer. Okay, fast forward. I decided to leave my very comfortable corporate job in 2017, and I started renting space at another brewery where I was contract brewing, and I was selling beer door to door. This beer that was Greenwood beer. I was brewing Greenwood beer. I was the salesperson. I was the seller woman. I was the brewer. I was the delivery driver. I was all of these things. And I was selling one beer, the Her Story Pale Ale. And one of my customers was Changing Hands Bookstore, who has a book bar in it. So they have a bar and you can grab a beer and go shopping and read your books. I mean, it's a fantastic idea.
I love it.
And Cindy Dash is one of the owners of Changing Hands. And they reached out to me, was like one of the only people who ever reached out to me to get Her Story on draft at the book bar, which makes sense. Her Story at a bar with the bookstore. Okay. So, Cindy Dash is the owner of my property that we now have Greenwood at. So when this was all happening, I was living downtown. I'd walk up 5th Street in Roosevelt and I would say, this is exactly where I want to put my brewery. I absolutely love this street. I want to be part of this area. And I met Cindy and she was like, we have this property on 5th Street in Roosevelt.
What?
And we want to put it, yeah, I mean, it's total manifestation. And she was like, we want to put a beer garden on this space. And I was like, so great. I want to put a brewery. Okay. So they had this property that was just a vacant plot it was a parking lot and it was next to their another part of their property. And we went and we sought out, we got an architect and we started the design. And it was just actually, if you know our space, it's just the beer garden and where the brewery is. That's the only place we were going to have all of Greenwood. And so I really pushed to, I wasn't loving the design. And so we really pushed to open it up to the entire space. So where you come to now is 2 beer gardens and with the plot in the middle. And one of these decisions had us moving. It was such a big decision that we ended up pushing our opening date from March 1st, 2020 to April 1st, 2020. And I was really distraught because March is the biggest month in Arizona. And this decision moved us from opening right before everything shut down to being able to open so it was, in hindsight, it was like such a hard decision. And it was so I was so mad that we were going to push this opening back. And then what ended up happening was it was such a blessing because I didn't have the staff. I didn't have all of everything set up to go in March 1st for a grand opening, March 1st, 2020, which would have just probably put us out of business.
Changed the course.
Yeah. So a couple things that were just like small decisions make such a big impact.
Yeah, being able to say like, no, I want it to look and feel like this, and like trusting your gut, then ended up pushing the date. But like, thank God I did, because I know. I mean, March is prime patio season here in Arizona. It's ideal weather, spring training, all the things. Everybody's in town. Especially that time in 2020 would have been just, it's a hard time either way, but to give you an extra month of cushion.
Yeah.
You're like, this is the worst thing that can happen. Ended up being the best thing that could have happened.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, it was really, I was like, nope, I don't like this design. We ended up hiring a whole nother interior design firm to help us. And
who did it?
So our interior designers were Mackenzie Collier Interiors.
I love them. I have the same co-working space.
Oh, really?
At McKinley Club. Yeah.
Oh, yes. They're awesome.
And very talented.
Yes. And they came in and totally crushed it.
They crushed.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Well, I'm glad you stuck to your gut, because it's like a place that you want to, I don't know, sometimes breweries, it's fun. It's a different vibe. But this, I feel like you get the hip, cool, like lovely interior design as well as great beer, where that's not always the case. Sometimes it's just like a really dark lacquered wood.
Yes.
And smells like beer and just nothing else. And you're like, this is not the vibes, but I'm just here having beers with my bros.
Right.
So
2 different spots.
2 different.
Yeah.
It's a different night out. It's a different day on the patio. But, well, let's talk about your matriarch.
Yes.
Let's talk about your mom.
Yeah.
She lives in Iowa. What's her name?
Iowa. Her name's Sherry.
Sherry. Shout out to Sherry. We love you. Did you spend a lot of time? We were really close growing up. Do you have siblings?
Yes. I have 3 siblings. And so my mom, so the story with my mom is so I come from a line of grocery store owners. So my mom owned a grocery store with my grandparents on both sides owned grocery stores.
Wow.
And they were both named after them. So like Ung's Shopping Center is my mom's family. Greenwood's Grocery is my dad's family.
Wow.
And so they're
in
both,
the blood.
Yeah, in the blood. Okay, so they've got grocery. They both come from butchers, actually. So like they both have butchering families too. So they're like meat markets and grocery stores. My mom's side was also like my great grandfather was like the mortician and the post office. And I mean, he was like everything in their town.
Go-to guy.
Yeah, no, it was really true. And my grandfather takes it over from his dad. My mom goes to college. My parents, it's really kind of a funny story. My parents met in high school. My dad actually stood my mom up to prom.
Wow.
And so they never knew each other. They went to different high schools, but my mom was supposed to go to like the public high school prom with my dad, and he stood her up, didn't ever go. Went with his buddies somewhere and just ditched prom in general.
Wow.
So they ended up meeting in college, and my mom was like, "You're the son of a bee who stood me up for prom." And then
screw you.
Yeah, then they ended up getting
I was like,
married.
well, spoiler alert, I guess it worked out.
Yes. So my parents are both in school for like a half of a semester, and they both leave school to go back to work for their family businesses. So my mom works for Ung's Shopping Center for her dad, and my dad works for Greenwood's Grocery for his dad. And my mother ended up she didn't really want to do this, but she took over and really made my grandfather's business a wild success. I mean, back then they had a feed business. They did a lot of feed for cattle farmers, and they did a lot of seed and for the farmers. And they had $1 million business with this like tiny grocery store in a town of, I don't know, 400 people.
Wow.
Okay. So fast forward, she ends up going, they end up getting married, my parents, and my mom, my grandfather is kind of my Greenwood's Grocery grandfather is kind of going into poor health. And so my mom decides to buy Greenwood's Grocery. So my mom owns Greenwood's Grocery. So, she ran Greenwood's Grocery. It was my first job was probably being a cashier without getting paid. We were always in the grocery store. We were always behind the meat counter, always pulling shelves, just random stuff for my mom. But I saw her as the boss. My dad also he had a great paying job. Great paying job. He worked like a blue collar job in Iowa, but, she ran the business, and she took it from like an almost failing business. And she talks all the time about how she worked so hard to for 10 years to make $10,000 at the end of 10 years. Like it was not a very successful business until she took it over and handed it. So then she decided she wants to get out of this business and sell it to my uncle, and now it's a successful business and doing great things. Okay. But that was kind of our vision when we were kids, was our mom running the business. And so I think that was where it all kind of started. So all my siblings and we were all part of the grocery store life kind of thing.
So you knew at a very young age that entrepreneurship, there was something like a little fire inside of you, just seeing it all go down like that.
Yeah. So she was entrepreneurial. She was, they don't call it that back then,
right?
But for sure. She turned the business around. She was a hard ass. And it's funny, I see a lot of myself in her with Greenwood Brewery. And I try to be a little bit more empathetic than she was, but she was a hard ass and made sure that everybody was doing what they needed to do and thanking every single customer as they walked out the door.
That service mentality of being able to just connect with your customer in that way.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so she was, so she just kind of became a good role model. So, when I was going to school, I decided I didn't know what I wanted to go to college for. My mom decided to sell the business. She moved in her 40s, and my parents' 40s, both of them decided to leave their job that they had been working at for decades and start completely over in a new industry, which was also really inspiring. I didn't think about it really at the time, but now getting into your 40s, getting into my 40s, I'm thinking wow, that was a really hard decision with 4 kids. And so she decided to become a real estate agent in Iowa. And when I was going to college, I just didn't know what I wanted to do. And she was like, I loved math and science. That's all I knew. And she was like, she's like, I'm selling all these houses to engineers. I think you should become an engineer. And I was like, okay. So I went to this University of Iowa career fair, whatever, signed up for the engineering school and became an industrial engineer.
As one does.
Yeah.
It's just the easiest thing in the world. That's amazing.
Ended up falling in love with it. I really loved engineering. So I thought falling into it, I had both of my siblings go into engineering school when they were going through, my younger siblings, when they were going through college, because I thought it was for everybody.
Yeah.
Not for everybody.
It's not, I'm sure.
But it was, a simple thing as that. She had no idea what engineering was. Probably I had no idea what engineering was. And so I was like, okay, sure. And then, 4.5 years later or whatever, when I graduated in industrial engineering and started my career that way. And so then, And so it just kept continuing where, in big decisions, I feel like I was looking to my mom for advice.
Yeah, it seems like she's been a North Star as well.
Yeah.
Throughout everything. So she worked inside the home and outside of the home then with grocery?
Yeah. I was born the year she bought Greenwood's Grocery. So we had our family.
A fridge full of groceries is what you had.
Yeah. Old expired grocery, which is funny because I was picking the beer to bring today. And it's so funny because we only ate brown lettuce. We only ate expired food. We only ate expired milk. That's all that we ate because
And did you die? No, you're fine.
No, we're fine.
That's
yes.
so funny.
But like, you can't sell it there. So she'd just bring home, that's all we had in
The
our
wilted
fridge.
lettuce.
Yes. And it's funny because I was going to go grab beer and I was like, the only beer I have is the beer that is the same situation that I pulled off my shelf because I was like, I don't want to sell this. We're past the 4-month turnaround time.
Yeah.
I'm just going to take this case home and that's what I'll have in my fridge. So I was like, I'm going to bring the old beer. This is like so funny talking about the matriarchy podcast and going here. And I was like, I'm about to bring old Her Story Pale Ale to a situation where I'm literally living. I'm literally living the same life.
You can't help it. It's instilled in you.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Well, there's a market in my neighborhood that has like the clearance beer section. Love it. Love it. I mean, like, I don't know the difference as a consumer. I don't know. Like, I'm not giving you any advice out there, but I'm like, listen.
Yeah.
I understand. Like, you can't sell it you like have to be safe. And there's so many regulations with food and beverage, of course. But yeah, no, I get it. You're like, it's fine. I'll drink it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to waste this. Like the packaging, I imagine. Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously that was instilled at a young age that you're like, well, let's not waste it. We can take it inside the house.
Yes. So yes, I had a nanny, quote unquote, in a tiny town, Farley, Iowa. That pretty much was there when we got home from school, fed us dinner. Maybe we had an hour or two with my parents at the end of the day.
They were booked and busy.
Yeah.
Do you feel like helping her dad's grocery be the success it was, or then buying Greenwood grocery was like the biggest accomplishments? Obviously.
Of hers?
Yeah.
Of her whole life? Or just so far? No, I think like those were stepping stones. And
casual. Those are big milestones.
So she's a total badass now. She bought her brokerage. She's one of the top selling real estate agents in Iowa. So she's a very hardworking person. And finally got to a point where the fruits of her labor were actually, she was seeing the fruits of her labor when she got into real estate and was actually making money working for herself, and now owns the brokerage. And my parents now have a real estate company where they build buildings and stuff. But so I think now they're thriving.
Yeah.
But we talk about the hardships of Greenwood Brewery opening, and she's just like, oh my God, it's bringing me back to Greenwood
PTSD.
Grocery.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Just like fighting for a $7.40 beer. That's what I sell my beer at and when we started, it was $5.50. So and that's all I sell. I mean, I sell merchandise and some snacks, but we sell $7 beers, and every single one of those has to pay for 8 full-time people, not even including me, 8 full-time people and 6 part-time people. And so you're
with a $7 product.
With a $7 product. Yeah. And so you're just fighting for that $7 from everybody, Yeah.
Well, and I think like in the grand scheme of alcoholic beverages, everywhere you go, it's a $15 cocktail now or something. So I feel like that's a happy hour price.
I think so.
I think.
But then but like
I'm sure then you get people are like, what do you mean? You're not selling Bud Light? Like, like it's a different consumer you're attracting. I mean,
beer is so different.
And the cost of like everything is more expensive now, but like to make a product that you are brewing yourself. It is not
2 people.
It takes a lot of people. But I mean, like I said, all I know is like watching my sister go through this with the donuts, and I'm like, she has the same struggles of like increasing the price, and people are like, how much are you going to pay? But I'm like, anytime I walk into a coffee shop, $6 for a coffee and it's $5 for a snack. Like everything, it's just the way that it is. I don't know. I'm not complaining. I'm not the one to be like prices these days. Cause I'm like, I know that people in food and beverage, they want to keep it low. They want to have more customers, but it's like, I got to pay my employees. I got to pay myself. I got to keep the lights on. But so I think that's a great price, but
thanks.
That is, I'm sure that you get people that are annoyed, but that would be like that with anything, I think.
Yeah.
Even if it was $5, people are going to want it for less. It's just, it's a mindset.
It is a mindset.
You deserve the $7 beer. Go out and get yourself one, guys. What do you admire most about Mom?
She is like, she's a very hardworking person. She is go from sun up to sundown, and not in like a flailing way, in like a boss way.
Strategy.
Yes.
Intentional with her time.
Yes. And just like, she would be working 60-hour weeks, probably, at least, because she was there on the weekends. And she would still have like fresh baked cookies, and she still have
did it all.
Yeah, like homemade mashed potatoes and stuff. It's just like, I don't know. And that's inspiring. Never had
a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure. It is. And there are things that you sacrifice for having that kind of ferocity. Maybe empathy is one of them that you sacrifice to have like such
everything
a strict.
Yep. And maybe when
mindset.
you were younger, it's like you didn't appreciate all of the coordination. I mean, I certainly didn't with my mom, of like 4 kids to like extracurriculars. All you're doing is you're driving around all day.
Yeah.
But you have your own job. What? And then you come home and you have to like be super mom.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
How do you do it all? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So like, the empathy, I'm sure.
It just goes out the window.
Yeah.
You just don't have time.
I'm not like, I'm the first one to like snap when like, I'm like, I'm overstimulated. And I'm like, there's a lot going on and people asking of you, I'm sure at your business and then your baby child. But you're like, there's no time for like pleasantries and like overly coddly, fluffy time. We got to get stuff done.
Yes.
Wow.
And I feel like
now you're like, I get it.
Get it.
And it wasn't about being like, I'm sure she was a loving, caring mom, but you're like the empathy or like,
yes.
It's just not.
It's not. There's no time for it.
There's no time.
I know.
We got to move. Get dressed for school. I don't care if you're crying.
And that's where I think I see it. I see it in myself. And I talk to my staff about this sometimes because I'm like, I know I need to give more empathy to you. So I need to work on that. Or to show more empathy, but the response a lot of times is always like probably they're scared a little bit of me at the beginning because I'm just like, do this, let's move on. And but then they're like, but then we actually know why you're just like that, and then we get it. And I was like, okay, well,
you're like, I'm sorry I lashed out.
Hopefully I need to speed up that process of getting them to that understanding. So I just need to work on it too, because I know how it is. My mom was my boss. I worked for her for years, and she was in the business and was making sure that everything got done properly. And that's exactly how I am.
Yeah. And to do that, you have to, you're in it.
Yeah. You have
to. You're just, and
it's your investment.
Right.
It's your money. It's your business. It's your paycheck at the end of the day that you might not be getting if you aren't managing your business properly. And that's the reality. And so, no question that you have to just be straightforward. And that's, I think, a big challenge today is like some people today don't want that. This is how it is.
Yeah.
But somebody else didn't put hundreds of thousands of dollars into my business. I did.
Right.
Nobody else can not get paid.
Yeah.
I'm the only one that can go without a paycheck. So when that's your situation, you better believe it that you're going to
have a fire under your ass. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Wow. I mean, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Yeah.
And especially like the dynamic of working with your mom is already as much as you like working with family is challenging, and you also feel safer with them. So I think either the lashing out or like, I don't know, a sharp tongue, like, we got to get this done, let's go, or any of that can fly between family members. But like, you're like, my paid employees, I can't have the same dynamic as I did with my mom, or just, but that's a lot of things, just another skill to have to, and muscle to build.
Yeah.
Well, I know you were saying that she was going, or she still does, from like dawn to dusk, but did she, I feel in this world of like wellness and morning routines, like did she have a routine that she followed to like kind of set herself up to put her best foot forward?
Probably back in the day, like in the 90s, like they all like had coffee and a cigarette, like that's what like they probably were doing. I don't know. Now she like walks almost every day. So she'll go on a walk, or like walk on her treadmill. She's up at like 6 a.m. She's asleep by 9, I would say. She is, if she's awake past 9, it's shocking. Like I am always shocked when she calls me past that time.
Like, is it an emergency?
Yeah, right.
Is everybody okay?
Yeah. I'd say that's what she does. Yeah.
What about you? Do you have a morning routine?
No. My morning routine is waking up when my son wakes up, for sure. I do love my like 3-minute morning with my son before like I go do whatever I need to do. Like I make sure that I give him like at least like just a few minutes with me before I have to just take off. And no, I'm trying to work on that. But we just
That's the first thing to go when you don't have time.
Well, yes. And it's like you sleep whenever you can for the first year of your child's
I can imagine.
life. So we're finally in this position where we can have more of a routine. So now we're figuring out like, when do I work out? When do I get when do I get my time?
Yeah.
And my husband and I are in the process right now of making sure that happens. And so right now I'm working out whenever I can during the day. But that's just starting, which I'm really excited about, being able to like have a regular thing again.
And just be able to only focus on that one thing and have even 30 minutes.
Yes, even 30 minutes.
It's amazing.
Exactly.
What's one word to describe your mom?
I've said it already multiple times. I would say it's hardworking.
Hardworking, for sure.
Yeah.
What's the best advice you've ever received, or something that stuck with you that she told you or else says all the time?
Okay, well, when we were growing up, this is like her saying of how she raised her kids. So she always says that she raised her kids to be employable, which I thought was really a testament to who she is.
Yeah, wow.
But like,
it says it all.
But also really smart.
Yeah.
And like they were pushing us to go to college because you had to have a college degree back then, to make sure that you were getting a good paying job and yada, yada. But yeah, she was always like, whatever you go to school for needs to have a job at the end of it. It can't just be.
Well, engineering was a good call there.
Yes. I would say too, one big thing that really sticks out is when I was leaving my corporate job. So I left my corporate job in 2017, loved my corporate job. So it was hard to leave. Left on great terms. And I ended up taking a job with another company in Arizona for a little while just to get Greenwood off the ground. And this other job was kind of like a stepping stone, just to like, it was going to get me by. And I remember I was working on Greenwood full time, and I was like, I just can't do both. I can't do both. But Greenwood was making $35,000 a year total top line revenue at the time. So like, I wasn't making enough money for me to survive off of it.
And keep the operating costs floating. Yeah.
So I remember calling my mom, and I was like, I think I need to quit my job. And I'd say it, and she'd normally talk me out of something like that. And this time she was like, she was like, so she asked a couple of questions. We talked through it and she was like, no, well, maybe it's time to quit your job.
And you're like, wasn't actually thinking you were going to support that.
Yes. And so because of that, though, when I was managing the project of opening Greenwood, I decided to take all of my focus, leave my job, and focus on Greenwood opening and project managing that project and making sure everything was going smooth and well and within budget. And so I ended up opening almost $150,000 under budget. So you can say that, I made $150,000 that year, literally took an $885,000 loan, turned it to $735,000 because I was really watching everything. And I think that was the right decision.
Yeah. Well, to have any kind of nest egg left over, usually building something, timelines and budgets always are 3 times as much as you think it's going to be. So that's a huge accomplishment.
Yeah.
Okay, I have some rapid fire.
Yes.
Is there a song, beauty tip, piece of jewelry that makes you think of your mom?
Rapid fire. Okay.
I know. The thing about rapid fire is you could spend so long thinking about it.
I would just say like making cookies with her recipe. That's really what makes me think of her. But
I love it. What kind of cookie is it?
A chocolate chip cookie.
Chip. Classic.
Yeah.
Yum. What is a better smell in the world? Can't think of it.
No, I know, right?
If there is, let's see. How do you recharge now?
I get snuggles from my son watching Bluey while he eats his like afternoon apple, I would say, is like how I recharge.
I love Bluey, honestly.
No, Bluey's the best.
Bluey? Love it.
That was like a big dose of oxytocin that is just so wonderful. I love just spending time like that. And so that's how I would recharge, I think, right now.
Daily apple Bluey time.
Yeah.
I love it. When's the last time you did something just for fun and not try to monetize it? Is what I always struggle with, making hobbies, businesses.
Like an activity?
Or just anything fun. Could be like, I just did this. And it was so fun.
How is this so hard to figure something out?
I know.
Oh my gosh. We went to the zoo.
That's so nice.
I mean, I don't even know that was that fun though. Going to the zoo with your 1.5-year-old was not that fun.
In theory, it was meant to be fun. Sometimes being fun is like laying flat on the couch for 1 minute, I guess, in peace.
Yes. I would say we went to Hawaii last year. That was so much fun. And I took my 6-month-old. It was so worth it. It was wonderful. I would highly recommend taking a under 8-month-old anywhere. But it was awesome.
So wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, final question.
Yeah.
If you could say anything to your mom, what would it be? Can we call her on the phone and tell her?
Oh my God. This is so sweet and special. Oh, really? Do you want me to call her?
If you want to.
Oh my God. All right. Okay.
We should be able to hear some ringing.
I think, okay. Oh my God.
We're doing it.
Oh my God. Okay. I hope she answers.
It's like, ma'am.
Hi, this is Sherry
no.
Greenwood with American
Sherry.
Realty. I'm either on
Try
my
her again.
Okay, we'll try one more time.
She's like, what's the emergency?
Oh no, I just.
Hi, sorry about that.
Oh yeah, it's okay.
Somebody called right in between.
Oh, that's okay. Okay. Well, Mom, you're on a podcast.
Hi, Mom.
Hi.
And
My name's
this is
Courtney.
Yes.
The podcast is called Matriarchy Party, and we're just giving the flowers to the women who paved the way for our successes. So I asked your badass daughter if we could say anything to her matriarch. Spoiler alert, it's you. What would it be? So I'm
calling to tell you thank you. Oh, this is going to make me cry. for always giving me the hard lessons and always.
You're going to make me cry too.
Well, we've just been talking about you for the last hour. But you've been my go-to person for all of my hard decisions. And I just wanted to say thank you for that. And always having my best interest and my future in mind, which didn't always give me the answers that I wanted. But in the end, I think you're always my go-to. So I love you. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. And I'm glad that I'm your go-to because it's good. You know, I've been in your shoes one time, and it's good to have somebody to run things past, whether you like the answer or not. Whether you do the answer or not. Sometimes it's good to have another perspective.
Absolutely.
And you know I love you, and I hope the best of success for you.
Thank you. Yes, I know that.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks,
Thank
Mom.
you for picking up the phone. All of us crying now. I've heard so many amazing things about you, and you've obviously raised such resilient, amazing, successful kids. And it's thank you for gifting Arizona your efforts, you know?
Well, no problem. I love my kids, and I love what they do, and I try to help them when I can.
Yeah.
That's my goal.
Beautiful.
Yep.
All anybody could ask for.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Have a great day.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I'll call you later.
Thanks. Okay. Okay. Bye.
Oh, sorry. Well, on that note, we're all weeping. That was so special. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
If that doesn't encourage you to go call your mom, grandma, mentor, then I don't know what will. So go get them on the phone if you have the privilege of being able to call. Thank you so much for your time, Megan.
Thank you.
It was so lovely. I feel like we could have talked for 3 hours. You have such an interesting, powerful story. And yeah, I'm just so inspired by you. If you want to see more of what Megan and Greenwood Brewing is doing, you can follow the brewery at Greenwood Brewing. Correct? On Instagram?
Yes, at Greenwood Brewing.
Brewing or brewery?
Brewing.
Brewing.
Yes, Brewing.
Great. And then it's Megan Greenwood.
Yes, the Megan Greenwood, I think. Yes.
Well, I
Megan
got that all
Greenwood.
wrong.
But I do like it. So I should maybe find that one.
It's Megan Greenwood. I'm going to take it one more time. Mango. Well, thank you so much for your time. That was so special. If you want to see more of Megan and what Greenwood Brewery is doing, you can follow on Instagram at Greenwood Brewing or the Megan Greenwood.
Yes.
And just see what they're up to do. New releases of flavors. You're doing some cool partnership with Wren House, which I also love.
Yeah.
You have like yoga on Sundays in the courtyard and
yeah.
brewing. You have so many cool things going on. So it's prime patio season, guys. Go and Women's History Month. So you got to support women-owned businesses. Go pop in there and have a deal of a $7.50 beer, you know? Thank you so much. Have a great week, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.